Hey, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. James Donaldson here from Your Gift of Life Foundation, but more importantly, from Standing Above the Crowd podcast and broadcast, coming to you live today at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Seattle, Washington. All right. Great to see everybody again. And I just want to keep on continuing on the work that I'm doing, especially with the Your Gift of Life Foundation, which is all about mental health awareness and suicide prevention. The first couple of weeks ago or so, I kind of reintroduced myself into the work I'm doing currently, how and why I got into that work, and why it's so meaningful to me. I know the work that I'm doing is saving lives, and that's really the most important thing that we can all be doing. Getting people out there to get help when they have any kind of mental health struggle, mental health challenge. And chances are we're all going to go through some really, really, really tough times in life. I just had a dear friend of mine a couple of days ago lose her elderly mother, who she's been a caregiver to for years. And, we all knew that the end was inevitable. It's going to come one of these days. But it came, and it came so suddenly, and she's devastated. I'm devastated for her. And those are the kind of mental health challenges that we're all going to go through from time to time. We can handle when it's one or two things. That's okay. We can usually get through that even on our own if we're strong enough and got the resilience and got the support around us. But when it compounds 3, 4, 5, 6 things, you think back during the COVID crisis where we were all locked inside. We had to wear masks. A lot of us lost our job. A lot of us were forced to work from home. A lot of us had to socially isolate. A lot of us couldn't attend weddings. We couldn't attend funerals. And those things add up over time. And it becomes almost unbearable, and too much to handle. And so that's the work that I'm doing and why it's so important to me. Last week, I talked about mental health and mental health awareness for our young people, which is a lot of the great joy that I go and do every day, and speaking to our kids at schools all over the state of Washington. I really remind them that, hey, just because you've hit upon this hard time, life's not over. You still got a whole lot of life left in you as a middle schooler or a high schooler. So don't let this tough time get you down. Get the help you need and keep on living with your life and being the best you that you can be. But today I want to talk about another passion of mine, and that's working with men. Us men, we're a different breed of animal sometimes. And I lived that life. I still live that life, and the thing is trying to be a little bit better than just being, a little bit better than average, pushing yourself to get out of your comfort zone sometime. Men, a lot of times we're driven by a lot of things society tells us. And it really goes back to how we grew up, right? Little boys don't cry. You don't want to be a sissy. You don't want to be a punk. And it's tough being a boy growing up with that kind of attitude around you, because it gets reinforced by everything and everybody around you. It's reinforced by your coaches, by your dad, if he's a strong male figure in your life, even by your mom telling you, well, don't cry, it'd be okay. Where your little sister can cry all day long, she can cry all day, and she can get all her little girlfriends around her, and they can have this crying party that goes on for days, it seems like. Little boys aren't allowed to do that so much. And that, a lot of times comes back to really hurt us in a detrimental way as we get older. And we understand that, life is much more than just shrugging off tough times and getting through it all by yourself, which men tend to do. We need to really learn to rely on each other and help each other as best we can and better than we've been doing. I come from a real macho, male-dominated sports background, competitive athletics. We don't dare let our opponent know that we got an injury or that we're sick or we don't feel good. We're limping around out there sometimes, and we're acting like we're not limping, only hurting other parts of our body as well. And so that's the mindset that so many athletes and military guys too. I mean, military, law enforcement, police officers, they all have to just suck it up and be tough men, especially. Women, they have to be tough as well, but they're not quite expected to have that same level of machoism and tough guyism that men are expected to have. I hope things are changing. I hope things are getting better. But, we men are, and I'm speaking just very generally speaking, we're filled with testosterone, with ego, with pride, with stubbornness, with this attitude of I can do it all by myself. Can nobody help me? Nobody need to help me. That's okay when life's going good, but when life comes, your little ship crashes upon those rocks on that rocky shore, and you need help, you've got to be able to ask for it. Going through the things I went through, and you can look at my past episodes where I've lost everything I had worked for throughout all these 40, 50 years in sports and business and everything else, all went down the drain. My health as well. And I was just hanging on by my fingertips to the last little bit of, fortitude I had in me to hang in there no matter what, and having to rebuild all of that. But I learned during that time I had to reach out for help. I had to reach out to my old coaches, some of my old teammates, some of my old friends, people who had known me for 30, 40 years. And they were able to rally around me and say, hey, James, we know you're going through tough times. A lot of them confided in me. Hey, I've been through tough times too. And I looked at them, I'm like, no, you can't. You don't look like you've ever been through a tough time. Yes. So if you have that close personal contact and information conversation with somebody, chances are they will share with you the tough times that they've been through as well. So you're not alone. One of the first little photos I got popping up here is me wearing a message shirt saying, you are not alone. I go all over the place speaking and talking to folks and reminding them that mental health challenges, you feel like you're all by yourself, but in reality, you are not. You're one of millions and millions and billions of people going through it at the very same day. Okay. And so that's what I want to remind people, that even though you feel like you're all by yourself, and I felt like I was all by myself, you're not alone. Help is within reach, but you got to reach out for it. Okay. You got to call the 988 numbers and get those numbers and those people on the line to talk you through the really tough time that you might be going through. You've got to reach out to your friends and your family and your loved ones. Men, a lot of times we don't even want to talk to our girlfriends and our wives about what we're going through. We just kind of be that strong, silent type that we grew up to be. And it's just not going to serve us well, especially with mental health challenges. And so my encouragement to you is, even though you feel like you're alone, help is within reach, but you've got to ask for it. Okay? That's the thing about mental health. On the outside, we all look fine. Everybody look great. But on the inside, sometimes, as we say, you tore up from the floor up, right? And nobody knows that but you, because we put on that little public face and act like everything's all right. Put on that little smile, give that little throwaway line. Yeah, everything is okay. I'm doing all right. God is good. I'm blessed. All those things just covering up for how we really feel. And so we got to get past that, men. And that's what I want to really encourage you all to do today. And so one of the reasons that society makes it so tough on men is because we are expected to be the tough, strong, silent type. We're expected to be the supporter and the provider. We're expected to work hard and not complain. We're expected to lead our families and lead our communities and not show that you have some vulnerabilities or some weaknesses as well. I'm hoping and praying that our younger generation gets that. Going through my mental health challenges, I learned, I always thought I was kind of sympathetic and kind of empathetic in a way. I understood this. It was nothing compared to after what I went through. And my empathy went off the chart. My sympathy went off the chart. I understand when people are going through really tough times, and I want to make sure that I'm here to help them as well. Suicides occur at a rate of about 50,000 a year in the United States. Now, we don't hear about 99.9% of those, but you hear about the famous ones. I don't know if y'all remember Robin Williams, the great comedian from Mork and Mindy and all the great shows he put out there, took his life. A comedian. All right? I mean, he's got a great saying that says, people don't fake depression. They fake being okay. Remember that and be kind. So we're all faking being okay. Okay? But you can't fake depression. But that's something that's internal. And you've got to make sure that it's external. And you put it out there and let people know, and they can help you then. I remember Naomi Judd took her life as well with one of the Judd sisters. Countless athletes over the years have taken their lives. It really affects our LGBT and transgender communities as well. This current administration just eliminated the touch 3 option on the call to 988, which was the LGBT transgender Trevor Project line for folks having that issue and that lifestyle that goes with that. That was a specially designed button number for them to call. It's eliminated now. Now, they'll still get the help they need calling 988. It just won't be as specialized or customized as it was before. And with that real sympathetic and empathy that goes, and understanding that sometimes folks have different lifestyles that need more understanding. And so keep those things in mind. It's easy to fake depression, but make sure you're not faking it, and make sure that you're not faking being okay when you're not okay. There's another slide I want to show you about men, okay? Because men have to learn to say that it's okay not to be okay. All right? That's hard. I mean, I'm just shaking my head, all the things that I've been through and all the things I know that a lot of you men out there have been through. We have an upset stomach. It'll be all right. Drink me a little Alka-Seltzer or something, or just shake it off, throw something down in my stomach. I'll be all right. Got a back pain. It's going to be all right. A lot of times these things are symptomatic of other underlying problems that if you're not addressing them, they'll be undiagnosed and they can become a much, much bigger problem. Back in 2015, I told the story before, I came down with an aortic dissection in my heart. And one of the sure enough signs was low back pain. I'm out there trying to play around the golf with my friends. My back was killing me that morning. And I also was nauseous. I was sweating profusely. All these were signs, and I didn't know it. All these were signs of an aortic dissection happening. And luckily, I told the guys I was playing with, hey, I can't play today. My back's killing me. I can't even bend over and pick up this little white ball. And I left to go see my doctor about 15 minutes away. And I got there and I fell out right in the doctor's office. They did a quick scan on me, determined it was my heart, threw me in the ambulance, 12.5-hour open heart surgery on the spot. Now, imagine if I would have fell out on the golf course. There would be no way that they can get me to the hospital in time. And so we have to listen to those signs when our body's telling us that we're just not up to being okay. And let somebody know. Let somebody know that you're not feeling all right. Let somebody know that you want them to check in on you in a couple of hours if you're going to lay down and take a nap and you're not feeling too good. Let somebody know that, you'd appreciate them checking in on you 2 or 3 times a week just to say hi. We live in this social media driven world now that, we're all so connected with these phones and these text messaging apps and every social media. We got friends that we can't even begin to imagine and count all over the world. But we don't really know them. They're just our internet friends. And so you've got to really form, men especially, we've got to form a friendship with 2 or 3 close-knit guys that you can pick up the phone with and talk to at any time. I had breakfast this morning with a bunch of old guys that I have breakfast with every Thursday morning. About 10, 15 of us gather at a restaurant nearby. And most of these guys are retired. They're 70, 80 years old. And we all just sit around and talk guy stuff. We're talking men stuff. And, you know how we are when the women aren't around, the ladies aren't around. We can let our little hair down and talk about things that really matter to us. And that's a good thing. These guys, I know I can call them anytime, any day, and they will be there for me. And they can do the same with me. So I've got 2 or 3 of these kind of breakfast meetings during the week. Saturday morning up in Seattle every Saturday, gathering with 2 or 3 guys. True friends that I know I can count on. I can share my woes with, what I'm going through, and let them know that, wow, life is not always easy. Even though I might have a nice little smile on my face. But here's the real deal. See, and that's what you can do with a real good friend. So men, make sure it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be your best, but it's not okay not to tell somebody about that as well. I think our next slide is our emergency suicide prevention hotline numbers. This is so critical. And you don't have to be in a mental health crisis where you're at the verge of taking your life to call this number, 988. You can call this number just to talk to somebody because you're feeling down, because you're feeling all by yourself, because you need somebody to talk to. A real live person will pick up that phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and talk to you and comfort you and to reassure you that everything's going to be all right. Okay? That's valuable. So make sure you use that number anytime, day or night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so, I wanted to share with you a couple of things I printed out today about men and their mental health. And a lot of times it's really recognizing that we're having mental health issues in the first place. Are you feeling lethargic? Are you feeling down in the dumps? Are you feeling isolated, lonely? Are you feeling like you don't have much zest and get up and go? They say you get up and go and got up and went. These all might be mental health challenges that if you got yourself in a better place with better activities that really bring some spark into your life, you'd feel a lot better. So keep an eye on these kind of things. If you feel like you're starting to slide down that hill of isolation and loneliness and starting to think about suicidal thoughts and hurting yourself, you've got to get help right away. You've got to, because it's only going to get worse. Life is not fair. And sometimes it just keeps on heaping one thing on you after another. And so I want to make sure that men, you really understand that some of these signs are signs that you might be having some mental health challenges. It might just last for a day. It might just last for a weekend. It might just be something you don't feel like doing. And the next day you feel better and you're back at it. So make sure you do the things that are going to be helpful. Exercise. Exercise is still one of the best ways to really produce those good feel endorphins in your brain. They make you feel better, make you feel lighter. The world's a much better place. You feel more energetic, get that blood moving, So a lot of us have become sedentary, especially as we get older. I got me a little dog running around here somewhere that takes me out twice a day, walking in the neighborhood, block after block after block. And some days I don't feel like going, but that little dog wants to go every single time. Okay. And so I get my little shoes on and take off and go walking. Sometimes I'm just barely shuffling along. But hey, it's good for me to get out there because I'm off the couch. I'm standing, I'm moving, my blood's flowing, and I'm feeling better because I'm producing those good feel endorphins in my brain. Okay, so if you don't have exercise in your life, make sure you put it back in there. Eat well. We're eating way too much junk food. This current administration is digging through all that now with, food and drug and everything else, and finding that we have so many chemicals and additives in our food that we need to make sure that we can eat as natural and healthy of a diet as possible. You don't have to be extreme, but just a balanced diet and try to eliminate a lot of this sugar and salt and cravings that you might have. And you'll feel better. And believe me, it's not going to happen overnight. Okay? It takes time. It took time for you to get to this point. It'll take time for you to get back to a healthy point. So be patient with yourself and just start out on a day-to-day thing. Another thing I do that I find is very helpful is journaling. Every night I journal about my day, the good things and the bad things. Okay, the ups and the downs, how I'm feeling. I mean, I've been having some health issues myself, and some days I feel terrible, and I write that down. And I look at it 2 or 3 weeks later and say, wow, I forgot all about this, but this is what I was going through then. So journal. Okay, is another really healthy thing you can do for your mental health overall. The last piece I want to talk about right now is how to get the women in your life to be more supportive. Guys, we understand each other, but sometimes, the women in our lives don't quite understand to the same extent that we do. They're a lot more emotionally driven, a lot more emotionally connected. And they're going to do things on an emotional level that a lot of us guys have difficulty getting to. This is why we can talk to each other and be with each other and shoot the breeze and talk about nothing but have a great time. Without all the touchy-feeling, emotion stuff that goes on a lot of times, especially with the women. I envy women because they have that ability to do that. And I wish we guys did that a little bit more so, but we don't. And so I want to make sure that the women who are listening in today can be helpful for the guys in their life. And so here's a quick little sentence I want to read. Men face a unique challenge when it comes to mental health that discourages them from pursuing professional support. Okay? Women can play a critical role in supporting the men in their lives if they help and understand a little bit more about the mental health challenges men are going through. For men, the stigma is formed early in life. We're talking about being a little boy and telling you that little boys don't cry. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, keep on going, okay? And that's shaped by our family, by culture, by societies. And so men learn early on if they show feelings, if they show emotions, they're going to be called weak. But that's so far from the truth. The men are providers for their family, typically, traditionally, and in general. And his worth is tied to his financial success. So when he's doing well financially, everything's good in his life. When he's not doing so good financially, things are not so good in his life. Men are relying on self-sufficiency, okay, and try not to be a burden on other people. And so all these things are what men go through. But women, they need to be there in order to share that journey with their men, okay? We don't need a lot of yap. We need somebody to sit there and just be there and to help us chill, okay? Just let it out, okay? And that's a great role that women can play. We don't need anybody telling us what to do. We don't need anybody judging us for feeling bad or not being the tough guy that, we ought to be, or we've been taught to be, and even women have been taught that men should be. So we need to make sure that our women can really be there for us. Women, you can do a great job by pausing and listening. Okay? And you might have a guy who won't say a word all day long. But you know what? Tomorrow he's going to say a word. The next day he's going to say some more words. And before you know it, he's going to start spilling out what's going on with him. Just because you've given him that space to open up and be himself and be comfortable about that kind of thing. So instead of filling the air with a bunch of words going towards him, hang on to those words inside of you and just be there and listen. Okay? Put the phones down, turn the TV off, sit there and look at a nice sunset or a nice sunrise and just be with each other. And that's so many really, really good ways to help each other. A lot of times men don't want help, or at least they say they don't want help. But in reality, they do. Okay? In reality, they will really appreciate you being there with them and for them. And so you have to remember that don't be intrusive. Don't push yourself on him. Make sure you're there for him and be there together. This is a journey that both of you guys can travel together. And the rewards will be so great once you make it through all this. And it's not the end of the world just because you're having a bad day or a bad week or what have you. And so, men, I just want to really encourage you. I got one final slide I want to show with you because I've had men call me from all over the country when they see some of my podcasts and broadcasts and things I do. And I invite them to touch base with me. A lot of these guys are my age. You know, they've seen me running up and down the basketball court years ago. And they say, wow, James went through all this. And if he can make it through, I know I can make it through. If he went through all this, I know he's going to understand what I'm going through now. And so I invite the guys, shoot me an email, jamesd@yourgiftoflife.org, or call me. I mean, I'll pick up on this number here. I'll pick up on it and I'll talk to you gladly. And I've walked many, many men back from the verge of suicide when they didn't want to talk to their doctor. They didn't want to talk to their loved one, but they wanted to talk to me because they knew I would understand. They knew I wouldn't judge them. They knew I would be right there with them. And I'm right here for all of y'all too. So if you ever feel the need and you need somebody to talk to, besides 988, that should be your first call. But you need somebody else to talk to who's going to understand the journey you're going through, because I've been through that. Give me a call or shoot me an email and I'll respond personally. I don't have assistants intercepting all this. This is just me talking to you. And so I'm going to wrap up today just by saying, hey, I want to thank so much Rainier Avenue Radio for this wonderful platform they've given me to continue to get my word out, helping other folks, talking about something that's so, so vitally important. You know, we've been told to live life and live life abundantly. Isn't that right? But if you've got mental health crises all around you, you can't live an abundant life. You can't live a purposeful life. So shed all that stuff off you. Open yourself up and live the life you were meant to live, because that's how God wants you to be, and I want you to be that way as well. And so from Seattle, Washington, this is James Donaldson from Your Gift of Life Foundation, Standing Above the Crowd podcast. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm going to see you next week. All right, let's take it away. Have a good day.